Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Friday episode of Star Wars Lads. We are going to be talking about our top 5 favorite Obi-Wan Kenobi moments. This is May. It is the month of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We are getting the series at the end of the month. We're also getting Star Wars Brotherhood this coming week that we will be talking about. We'll be talking about Kenobi, the John Jackson Miller book, at the end of the month. We're going to be doing a tier list about Kenobi. Like, this is all Kenobi, and we are so excited to do this. And we're going to kick this month off with our top 5 favorite Obi-Wan moments. So just a preface, this is really super subjective to both of us. We wanted to have very different lists, so neither one of us knows what we have on our list. And it can be literally anything from a full scene to like one line of dialogue to like a look that somebody gives somebody else. Like, it could be anything. Pretty much all canon is fair game. We didn't really touch Legends too much. I have one thing I want to mention from Clone Wars, but that's about it. But before we get started, please hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel for Star Wars content every day of the week. You can check out our shorts as well as our videos. If you haven't checked out the other videos we posted this week, check out Grading Star Wars Eras Part 2 from the original trilogy all the way to the sequel trilogy. And then also check out our reaction to the second trailer for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Both of those videos were posted on Wednesday. We also had some other shorts out on Clone Wars and Droids and Ewoks and all the original 2D animated shows. So check those all out. Comment below, let us know what your top 5 favorite Obi-Wan moments are across Star Wars history. You can include whatever you want. Let's just talk about Obi-Wan. That is the most exciting part of this. So I think we'll kick it off with, do you have any honorable mentions?
I have a singular honorable mention.
Okay. Then
I,
I'll pass it to you
yeah,
for that, and then you can do your number 5 and we'll come back to me.
yeah. I will say for those watching, if you don't already know, Liam's favorite Star Wars character is Obi-Wan, so you
Yes.
might have a little bit more of a deeper appreciation for the character. And I do too, but my appreciation is just more how funny he is a lot of times, which is just a facet of his character. He's a great series character. He's got depths that we're definitely going to explore in the Kenobi show, and we're excited to see a little bit more of that time period too, and something new about him. But from what we have so far, I find a lot of it is just very funny and like it's I sometimes cannot take him seriously, but then I'm like, wow, this is like one of the few Jedi who survived the purge. He's one of the most powerful, defeated so many Siths and all that, but he does all of this stuff. And because he does all of this stuff, that's kind of the focus on my list. So my one honorable mention is from the Clone Wars, and it's that scene where Anakin is like freed from the cell. Like, and that's kind of just the cold open of how the episode starts. And he just keeps on complaining. He's why do I always have to be caught? He's like, and Kenobi's like, when you're a master, you can make the plan. And he's like, well, how can I become a master if I'm always getting caught? And Kenobi's like, well, at least you're a master at getting caught. And it's like, yeah, James Arnold Taylor added so much to Kenobi. I love this line. I just love it. Really also shows off his dynamic with Anakin really well. Great delivery too.
I love that you brought that one up. I forgot about that until you started saying it, and it's so gold. I love those lines. Like, there's so much great banter between Anakin and Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars. That's definitely at the top of the list for sure. So I have so many honorable mentions. I'm gonna try to run them down super fast, so we can get into the top 5. Duel of the Fates, honorable mention. One of my favorite things, and I was trying to think of something from comics and from the books, because there are the good stuff from the Jason Aaron line as well as Master and Apprentice. But one of my favorite moments in any comic is in Obi-Wan and Anakin. I love the moment where he explains that he would leave the order for Anakin if Anakin decided to leave the order, because I feel like that's just, it embodies Obi-Wan as the type of character we see throughout the whole saga. So I love that moment. Death Sticks, Dexter's Diner. This is a super underrated line from Attack of the Clones as well, the Geonosis Arena, when Anakin says, then we decide to come rescue, and Obi-Wan says, good job. And then
Yeah.
after that, when Anakin goes, well, what about Padme? And he shows she seems to be on top of things, and she's like on top of the pillar. Love all that. The Mandalore stuff in season 2 of Clone Wars. I just boxed it all together. Speaking of Box the Box episode, Battle of Coruscant, all that banter from there. Another happy landing. Hello there from Revenge of the Sith. Recalibrating the code. The wretched hive of scum and villainy. That line. Love that line. The mind trick in A New Hope. I really wanted to put that one on the list, actually, because that's super iconic. One of his best lines in A New Hope also. Who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him? And then finishing it all off with becoming more powerful than you can possibly imagine when Vader kills him. I love that part. And I also wanted to mention Obi-Wan versus Dirge, but we are mostly focusing on canon. So anyway, back to you for your 5. I took up a long time with my honorable mentions, but yeah.
Yeah, so when I made this list, a lot of it is the Ewan Kenobi, but there are a couple of things that are the Guinness Kenobi. Obviously, we owe Kenobi to him. He is the original. Everything that is sourced from and created comes from him as a starting point, even if it's not necessarily the end result of that iteration of Kenobi. But there's one thing that's always like struck me as something I don't think anyone can really like replicate. Even if like Ewan did it or James Arnold Taylor did it, it would just be like, wow, really, like you can't touch what he's doing. And that would be him in Return of the Jedi when he appears as a Force ghost, and he tells Luke, like, Luke's like, why did you never tell me Vader's Max Power? He's like, from a certain point of view, the good man that was your father ceased to exist and died when Vader took over. And it was just seeing the reaction, Luke's face, just like, and it's just, I think there's something about Guinness's own sort of dissatisfaction of becoming most well known for Obi-Wan that like his especially his episode 5 and 6 appearances. 6 especially is just pure trolling. A lot of it is also fixing up that loophole that was, well, not a loophole, but that little difference between 4 and 5 where he seems like he's talking about Vader and his Anakin as two very different characters when the two are the same thing, just at different points in their life. It's so troll, and I don't think that the Ewan Kenobi can do that, but I think the Guinness Kenobi mixed in with his own dissatisfaction with the role, he just nails that delivery. It's like he's like trying to be genuine about it, but there's no way this man wasn't like cackling inside, like this is so dumb. Like this is really what I got to do it at this point to make the story work, and it works because at the end of the day, he's a great actor, and if he has to be a troll while doing it, so be it.
That is a super iconic line, and it's permeated in like every part of Star
Yeah.
Wars, and it's definitely worth your number 5 spot on the list. So I completely respect that spot. For me, I put basically everything Obi-Wan does on Kamino. Visible confusion meme to all his learning about the clone army. That's good news. All of that. His conversation with
Yeah.
Jango Fett. I love that side of Attack of the Clones. It's an underrated side of Attack of the Clones, seeing Obi-Wan on this like detective noir
Right.
story, starting to figure out one of the biggest mysteries in the galaxy. And really, Ewan McGregor kind of carries the pace, at least, of the middle act of Attack of the Clones. And this is probably the reason why for me is everything on Kamino. I think it's all really great. It has a lot of layers. It's complex for somebody or for people like us where a casual viewer I think hates these seeds because there's so many things thrown at you at once that you
Yeah.
really have to like
Yeah.
understand the lore to understand what's going on or at least to be familiar with the films. But I've always loved this scene and just the way Obi-Wan confronts Jango Fett and everything. It's classic, very classic. So for me, that's my number 5.
Yeah, it's like that's why I'm here. Like, and it's like recently, possibly. Yeah, there's so many like good things. So going into my number 4, this is another Guinness moment when he's fighting Vader. Obviously, the lightsabers dueling at that point wasn't really developed. It was new. For all that to happen, and then for him to do a spin move in the middle that completely exposes himself. Yeah, Spinny Kenobi, as I deem him, is quite single-handedly either the greatest lightsaber duelist of all time in that moment because one, he maybe is thinking that, hey, if I spin really slowly, like not like enough that I'm walking, but enough to like catch you off guard. Maybe you're so shocked that I'm really doing this move in a lightsaber fight that you'll be like unable to move for a second. Or two, old man Kenobi is so willing to die at any moment that he's like, ah, it's free shot. You won't take it. You won't. And Vader doesn't, I guess, because I guess he just really wants to show it to his face. But yeah, just seeing that as like, and there's things that I love of that fight, especially when right before we see the whole trio and Chewbacca and the droids all kind of converge and hit the Millennium Falcon, we see Vader kind of do his like approach, and he just like kind of like stabs out his lightsaber a few couple times, and like Kenobi kind of has to like deflect. Like there's some cool, interesting things. It's like pop, pop, pop. Like there are some decent things in that fight, but that fight also did bring us this spinny Kenobi, and for that, I'll be eternally grateful, but also just appalled constantly. I see it.
That's a fair point. I really wanted to put that was actually like going to be my 5, and I substituted it with Camino just to have a representation from Attack of the Clones. But like the fight, the whole thing of him dying and all that, I love that scene.
Yeah.
It's so great. So even the spin, it's all fantastic. So very happy with your number 4 as well. For me, number 4 is another classic thing from A New Hope. It's probably the most used line of Star Wars dialogue ever, and it's when Obi-Wan explains the Force and the Clone Wars and basically everything that happened pre-Episode 4. He gives you the entire exposition dump in one scene that is so iconic and so amazing, and everyone uses this dialogue for every Star Wars montage, compilation. Even Disney and like the Disneyland is using this stuff as the basis for like their Path of the Jedi Star Wars compilation there. Like everything uses this moment. And it's one of the most fundamental pieces of Star Wars lore. Basically, as the introduction to everything mystical about Star Wars, everything that has to do with the Jedi Order, which is by far my favorite part of Star Wars. And yeah, I think I put it on here purely just out of respect for what it does. And it's such a brilliantly acted scene too, that it feels so magical and it feels so surreal. Every time you watch it, you're just sucked into the story this like old hermit is telling you it with Luke. Like you're Luke in that moment and you're experiencing this for the first time. Every time Alec Guinness truly nails that movie, and he somehow elevates this character's exposition into like a true fantasy epic that like somebody would tell like in ancient Greece to be telling the Odyssey to people. Like this is like Obi-Wan telling the history of the Clone Wars and Anakin and the Force and explaining it all. And I love it. It's one of my favorite scenes, and it's my number 4.
No, I think that's a great choice because in my mind, that's when he goes from being the crazy old hermit, like, to like being the fantasy figure, the fantasy hero's mentor. Like that's when he begins his transition. And like you said, it's not a lot that he does, but like he just kind of like strokes his beard, leans back. He like lets it like come out of him. It's not like he's telling the story. It's like this is like a tome that he's had like at the bottom of his throat, just ready to like let out at one deep breath, just waiting for this day with Luke. And I know
you
we
can see
discussed,
that weight.
yeah,
Like
that weight
when
is
he
off.
talks,
Yeah,
when he
yeah,
stares off into the distance, like as he's telling it, like
yeah.
he's reliving these horrible memories. And
Oh, right. And he's trying to smile it off, but like it's like a sad smile. It's like for the dark times, for the Empire, your father was a great pilot, this and that. And I know it's not what Guinness intends. Like he's not intending to say like, oh, Vader and Anakin are one and the same. But it's so interesting how you can also read that scene and be like, wow, maybe he really had an idea of these could be one and the same. Because it works. It really does work that he's like saying these things with like a sad, ironic smile. So to take away from that wonderful and lovely number 4, I'm going with my number 3, which is episode 2, the dead sticks. It's great. I don't know what else to say. It's this guy. What is his name?
Elon Sleazebagano.
The guy with the little pokey antennas, which is such a like because I love another huge thing that I love about Clone, not the Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones is that there's a lot of 40s space fantasy, golden age space fantasy inspiration. Like you see the little, the wing head part of the Clone Trooper Phase One troop. A lot of just the streamlined look and design, like all that's beautiful. The ships are beautiful. Everything's beautiful, but it's also a big thing in like just the creature design and the fashion, and that's just like a dumb thing that I'd expect to see in like 60s Star Trek. Like it just it's a human, but oh no, he's got like two little like antennas, and that's all there is to his character. It's so nonchalant, um, and he doesn't have to do much, but the fact that he's in a sequence where someone is just basically selling him like space DMT or something to just black out his brain, disconnect or fry his brain like acid or something, and he was like, nah, you go think about what you're really trying to tell me. Like, did you not see how I'm dressed up and all this and that? Like, let's give it a second. Like, and if that doesn't help, I'll give you a little bit of suggestion, so to speak. And I just love that that's a scene in Star Wars in like this 40s sort of cantina bar. Yeah, it's so dumb, but I love it nonetheless.
I love it too. I'm glad it's on your list. Elon Sleazebagano is one of my favorite characters in like random characters. Perfect name, one of the great
Sleaze
Star Wars
bag
names.
on it.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna make us all sad again because
Oh
my number
God.
3 is the death of Satine in the Clone Wars season 5, episode 16. To me, this is just the absolute quintessential Obi-Wan moment. It's where you see why he transcends all other Jedi, really, in terms of his fundamentals and his belief in the system and the way it works, and like to be we see so many hypocritical Jedi who are so involved in the world of the politics or the status of the Jedi. They're obsessed with their power and who they are and what they represent. Obi-Wan is the pure good. He's the one who embodies all of the things the Jedi should be, not what they are.
Yeah.
And in this scene, when Maul is trying to get him to lose it, and Obi-Wan he doesn't. He embraces Satine, but he doesn't compromise who he is, and then he still is able to hold it together, and it's the kind of the beginning of what ends up becoming an extremely traumatic like year to 18 months for Obi-Wan it's a great villain moment for Maul as well, because he feels like he's truly becoming that reverse of Obi-Wan, the other side of the coin. He's completely trying to destroy the man, but like Obi-Wan is still able to do what all great heroes do, and he rises above it, and he doesn't change who he is. So I love that scene, love that episode, love that whole arc, and that's my number 3. Very somber note.
Well, this is where my kind of serious number 2 comes in. That is a great one. I I I really wanted to just make my list completely humorous, but there was just one scene that I couldn't ignore. So my number 2 is the high ground scene. Because I think that is it's not the funniest moment. But it is like the most lighthearted line that he has to say before like he just has to like chop off Anakin's legs and say, "You are the chosen one. You say you destroy." Like he goes like, yeah, Ewan's acting in that scene. It's incredible. But um, it's that one line where he's like, "I have the high ground. Don't try it." Right? It's like the one last bit of like connection that he has. Like not even necessarily like banter, but just like, look, we know each other. Like listen to me, right? Everything that comes afterwards is just pain from Kenobi because it's over. It's over. And in that moment, it's over. Obviously, with the Kenobi series, he's gonna be like, okay, well, maybe I have a chance to try to, make him think otherwise, make him realize his mistake, just like he repeats to um, Luke in episode, or how Vader repeats to Luke in episode 6, Obi-Wan thought as you once did. But in that moment, it's just that line of like, don't try it. We both know what's about to happen. Like that's the one last bit that you should really understand. If you mess up here, it ruins everything. Everything's done forever. And then legs chopped off. He's burning up alive, and then he's just crying, letting it all out, all the emotions of the war, everything it comes out. Um, and it's a great scene because it's I don't think Obi-Wan lives in this battle. If I know Anakin was getting worn out. I know he was being perfectly parried and all that. But if he had a semblance of like restraint, like not to just think that like everything is done, like I'm all powerful and all this, right? Because at that moment, even though he's physically worn out, it's been dragging out, he's forced to do these incredible leaps and jumps. He doesn't consider like, hey, maybe I need to like take a minute here and you know, I know Obi-Wan's trying to use language here to kind of distract me, all that, like tell him off, keep fighting, jump next to him and continue this fight. And if he does that, I think Obi-Wan is dead. Just by the end of it, the chosen one's power is just too much for Obi-Wan to handle. I think it's brilliant. And the fact that everything that comes right after that line is just top tier Hayden, not Hayden, Ewan acting. Yeah, it's worth it alone for that.
Absolutely agree. It's one of the most powerful moments in all of the movies, and it's the scene that you really remember when you're watching. Like, the greatest the spectacle of the Battle of Heroes is. Like, it's the moment that defines these characters, and I completely agree with everything you said. But my number two is a was kind of a controversial thing when it came out, but now I think mostly everybody embraces it, and I think especially for Obi-Wan, it's one of the most powerful moments he's ever had because you see so much growth and transition, and that's when Obi-Wan and Maul fight in Rebels. And I know a lot of people were disappointed at how quickly it ends. I've always loved it, and I've always loved the way the whole thing goes, but just seeing not only Obi-Wan's ability as a duelist, his ability to bait this deranged man who Maul is, and his ability to see right through him, but just their conversations when Obi-Wan says, "Look what I've risen above," all of that, to seeing his devotion to Luke, and as well as seeing him hold Maul in his arms and embrace him as Maul's dying, and kind of, not only just respect him as a counterpart, but for somebody who's caused so much pain to him, taking his master away, taking his the love of his life away, and this like otherworldly being who's haunted him his entire adult life. This guy, this devil, has been following him around and taunting him, and ruining everything that that he loves. Uh, for him to fully embrace this man when he dies, and to kind of share that moment with him, I think especially the Maul's death. Like, I think that is such a transcendent Obi-Wan moment. It really, really defines who he is. And I think paired with what was my number three, which was the death of Satine, those two things paired together, seeing Obi-Wan's kind of progression over those 19 years from the death of Satine to where Maul ultimately dies, and knowing how much he's gone through, and knowing how his mentality's changed, and hopefully Kenobi gives even more, or Obi-Wan Kenobi gives even more about how he gets to that frame of mind, or that state of mind. Um, yeah, it's such a powerful moment, and it's risen all the way up to my number two favorite Obi-Wan Kenobi moment ever in Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, Rebels Kenobi is one episode and one episode only. And then the way I mean, the way you mentioned it, and I didn't even realize it, he kind of holds Maul the same way he holds Satine. He doesn't really hug Maul. That'd be kind of weird at this point in their lives, but he at least shows him some compassion and closes his eyes. Like, yeah, yeah, that is a very great moment. If you haven't seen Rebels, go watch Rebels. It's massively underrated, massively underrated. But that takes me to my number one. Um, this is the lowest of the low of Ewan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor, or Ewan Kenobi. I guess that can kind of work. Alec Kenobi, Ewan Kenobi. But then he has to do this one scene, and it just kind of just breaks me every time I see it. It only started happening to me the last couple of times I've seen Attack of the Clones, because that's when I started to really pay attention. And it's during the Geonosis Arena when they all start fighting the individual monsters, creatures, right? And he's pitted up against the Ackley. Like he takes that little spinny. There's like some stabbing. There's like a little bit of that, but then when it goes to like a wide shot of like the Ackley advancing, he like kind of steps back and shuffles back a little bit, and then he trades off. The Ackley starts backing up, and then he just does jab, jab, jab like 3 times up in the air, and it's nowhere near it. It's really not. It's just I see it, and I'm like, this is like the dumbest choreography that Ewan had to do. Like, imagine all that blue screen, all that green screen on this new digital camera. There's barely any sand on the ground. It might have not even had sand on the ground. And George Lucas is like, "Oh, okay, Ewan. I want you to take the little stun pike and then just jab a couple times towards its head, like you're gonna kill it." And it might have sounded better when George did it, but when it comes out, it just looks like they're dancing back and forth, and he's just like da da da. And I can't believe that Ewan acted out the scene. I can't believe a lot of scenes that are acted out in the prequels, but just seeing that this man of such stature, of such emotional depths, of such great dialogues, of such great physicality, does a scene like this where he's kind of dancing with an accolade that he's never ever really able to see until the premiere, and probably thinks, "Huh, I did that. Okay, yeah." I don't know. Just seeing it, and like when he kills the accolade, it's great, but why a wide shot of just him and the accolade doing this kind of like fencing like dance? I will never know, but it's there. It's canon. It happened.
Wow. So yeah, I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Number
When I said I
one.
could go lower, I
Um,
really meant lower.
I know exactly the shot you're talking about.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess I never really thought about it other than like, as like a scene of him like trying to get the thing to back up. Uh, but but yeah. Wow. Okay. That's
I'm glad I've
um
gotten you like flabbergasted, just like
oh
that's the one.
yeah,
It's
because
number
like
one.
even all the your other choices, like even though your list has been more comedic or more memey stuff, like those have all been like the classic memes,
Yeah.
this is yeah, this is a
This is out of left field. I will
it's
say
I mean
this.
it is a classic Attack of the Clone shot. It is. I know exactly what you're talking about, and
Because nothing about it is real other than this man holding like this like 10-foot pike and just jabbing it in like the general vicinity. And it's not even I don't think it's like even like he's too close for it to be like stay away from me. He's like right next to it and it's like an inch away, but I'm like, why not just
and it like
stab it?
it picks up its claws and it kind of backs up. Yeah.
Yeah. Just,
I
yeah.
love the part. I don't know if you remember this part. I love the part before when he like the guy tries to stab him with the pike and he grabs it and he like flips the Genoshan
Yeah.
off. And then that guy's trying to get up and he like does this like little twirl and like
Yeah.
whips him. He doesn't even like he doesn't stab him. He just like kind of slaps him across the face
Yeah.
with the thing. And then the guy and that Genoshan gets stabbed by the Acklay.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Well, that's a number one.
Yeah, you're about to say that's a good one, but it's not. I'll tell you, it's not.
That's a number one, and I respect your opinion. But yeah, I'm taking it back to where your number two was. I'm going with the Battle of Heroes for my number one, and the reason I just picked the Battle of Heroes was because I love everything that happens before the fight as well. That whole argument between Anakin and Obi-Wan. I know people have made fun of that all the time. I quote every single line of dialogue in that scene, and I love it. I think it's a great like it's a great start to the fight. It lays the emotions out there, and then they go at it, and then after it leads up to what is probably the best acted scene in Star Wars with Ewan yelling at a Hayden and the high ground and all of that. Also, it's my favorite lightsaber duel. If you haven't seen our top five lightsaber duels of all time, it's my favorite lightsaber duel ever. So that on top of everything, I would argue that Obi-Wan is so good defensively. I don't know. I don't know if Anakin could beat him. Like I feel like he does goad Anakin he can goad Anakin doing stupid stuff like whenever he wants. I think he kind of holds back on him.
That is my argument. At the end of the day, if Anakin had some respect, because he kind of reverts at some point to like Anakin of like Obi-Wan doesn't trust me. He's a
Yeah,
great
Attack of the
master, but
Clones.
yeah, like yeah, where he just like kind of whines and complains about Obi-Wan. If he doesn't revert to that, and if he's more like Matt Lanter's, um, you know, Skywalker that's
Right,
like
right,
stabbing chairs just to get close to Count Dooku, I don't
right.
think, and if he's kept his focus, yeah, I don't think uh, Obi-Wan wins. But it's because Obi-Wan is such a masterful negotiator, has the voice, has the restraint,
Yeah.
knows when to pull a couple things out of his sleeves. Yes, that's why it plays out the way it does.
Right. Yeah, it's the calm. It's the calm about Obi-Wan. It's the level-headedness, even with the emotions of fighting his brother or his son figure, he is able to keep it together to the point where he's able to gain the high ground. And we all know what happens when you gain the high ground. You at least lose 3 of your 4 limbs every time.
At least
So
three.
and then magically the one you don't lose is the one you already lost. So that just happens. It's the way it goes. But yeah,
He wanted the meat. He really wanted the meat, you know?
yeah,
Cutting metal, you've done that so much in the Clone Wars. Like, what's another arm, right? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, he's tired of that. It's a meat seeking lightsaber. So anyway, I'm not going to go really too much further into why the Battle of Heroes. I think it's my favorite lightsaber duel. It's my favorite moment probably in all of Revenge of the Sith and all the prequels for sure is Obi-Wan laying out all his emotions there after he cuts Anakin up and seeing Anakin catch fire and having to see Obi-Wan turn away. He can't watch it anymore. I like that. I think and then even just to piggyback off of that, when he gets it back into Padme's ship and you see the look when they take off, when C-3PO's flying the ship and Obi-Wan's just got his hand on his face like he doesn't even really know what happened. He's still trying to process it all. It's just
Like he had to
it,
do. Yeah.
exactly. And it's just the best. It's my favorite. It's hard to really articulate exactly why, but I think most people out there would agree. And it's the one serious thing you had on your list too. So there we go. It's like a double whammy there. So thank you all so much for watching our top 5 favorite Obi-Wan moments. As we said, this could very well change this week when we have Star Wars Brotherhood come out. And we're also going to have Obi-Wan Kenobi and then Padawan in July. So there's a ton of Obi-Wan stuff. This is the summer of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And that just sounds like the best summer ever, in my opinion. So there we go. Let us know down below what your favorite Obi-Wan moments are across any medium, whatever you want, Legends, canon. Tell us down below. Let us know, and let's celebrate Obi-Wan. If you haven't yet, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Check out all our other videos this week and follow us on social media at Star Wars Lads on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.